Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rural Rapport. My name is Teresa Hoffman. I'm a Senior Communications Associate here at the Center for Rural Affairs. Over the past decade, the Farm to School movement has reached millions of students in the United States and its territories. From school gardens and farm fields to local foods on cafeteria trays, Farm to School practices help children learn about nutrition and agriculture while also creating new markets for local and regional farmers. To recognize the connections made between schools and local farmers and their role in promoting well-being among children and building strong economies, in 2010, Congress designated October as National Farm to School Month. Throughout the month, organizations and schools celebrate by serving locally produced food, planting seeds and watching them grow, and visiting farms or hosting local farmers in the classroom. But the Farm to School movement won't stop when October ends. With help from $10.7 million in grants from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service, children from nearly 3,000 schools in 40 states and Guam will continue to benefit from Farm to School programs. The Center for Rural Affairs and the Nebraska Department of Education are teaming up for one such effort, the Nebraska Young Farmer Program. Joining me today to talk about the program are Sarah Smith, Farm to School Coordinator at the Nebraska Department of Education, and Stacie Turnbull, Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources Career Field Specialist and State Director of Agriculture Education for the Nebraska Department of Education. Thank you both for joining me today.
Yeah,
Sarah, we're going to start with you. Before we get into the details of the program, tell me about yourself and what you do for the Nebraska Department of Education.
Yeah, like you said, Teresa, I work on farm to school efforts at the Department of Education, and I'm housed in an office called Coordinated Student Support Services. So we're really looking at the whole child and how they're impacted within education while in the school day and outside of the school day as well. And so my position was funded in 2021 with a state bill that was passed and approved, the Nebraska Farm to School Act. And so that act calls for a position within the Department of Education to coordinate farm to school efforts statewide. So that's the role I'm in. And our biggest project right now with the farm to school program within NDE is really to coordinate those efforts with development of a farm to school network in our state. So it'll be a 2-year project that we're partnering on to grow farm to school efforts that are relevant to all stakeholders that are wanting to see farm to school grow in the state.
Well, great, Stacie. Same to you. What do you do for the Nebraska Department of Education?
Yeah, like Sarah, I work for the Nebraska Department of Education, and I am in the area of career and technical education, specifically supporting those agriculture education instructors. And so any way I can support agriculture teachers and students. So this is a natural project to be able to work on with outside groups, including Sarah's department and the Center for Rural Affairs.
Great. So Stacie, tell me a little bit about this Nebraska Young Farmer Program.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this program. So it's a 2-year project, as Sarah mentioned. Year 1 of the project begins with project staff preparation and the selection of additional participant schools. Following the selection of those additional schools, there's a mix of preparation activities for schools, including selection of specialty crop programs and basic courses, and pairing those schools with expert farmers. Schools will receive mini grants and be positioned to execute those programs in the 2023-24 school year. So that's all happening right now. Year 2 will see the launch of hands-on activities with students tending and working with their specialty crop project. That's coupled with in-class learning focused on career and entrepreneurship skill sets. All schools will prepare a sustainability plan during this time. So each is prepared and has what it needs in place to continue the program, which is important for keeping this sustainable. Instructors will receive further opportunities to participate in other farm to school programming, and students will have the opportunity to explore agriculture careers of interest to them. The Center for Rural Affairs and NDE staff will complete the project booklet showcasing the work of all 8 participating schools and publicly disseminate that both in print and digital formats.
That sounds great. Sarah, the focus of this program is on specialty crop production. What types of specialty crops would cafeterias be working with or the students be working with?
Yeah, that's a good question, Teresa, and really obviously would align with the child nutrition programs where they're serving the national school lunch or they're serving breakfast, snacks, even the supper program and the summer food service program. All of those programs have requirements for fruit and vegetable on the plate in different amounts for different age groups. So we see a lot of interest from schools and early care and education facilities with those easy to eat raw vegetables that can go on a fruit and vegetable bar. That's a really good way to have product that's simple without a ton of labor. And when there are local foods on those salad bars, the kids are excited to be eating them. So lots of interest in that. We also see fruits and vegetables that align with our Nebraska Harvest of the Month program, which was originally centered on specialty crops, and we've grown now to include some meat proteins. But some of those products will look like apples and carrots and October and cabbage and storage crops throughout the winter. And just really focuses on teaching about seasonality and agriculture potential with those specialty crops in our state. So we see a lot of schools also jumping in on the Harvest of the Month program and promoting those foods on their tray during those months. And then some of the lessons that happened around teaching kids about how those foods are grown or their nutritional availability or just where they're grown and that type of thing, that can also be happening in the classroom simultaneously as it's happening with the focus on the cafeteria. And last, also with the specialty crop side of things, we have such a huge dry bean production in our state that's a project that NDE is currently working on where we have some funding to build a plant-based proteins campaign. So we're really focusing on some of the availability and the benefits of dry beans and how to use those even within a school system.
So Stacie, kind of on the student side, what specialty crops might they may be interested in?
Yeah. And like Sarah said, that's a great question because it really involves us expanding our definition of what a crop is. So I like to think of this as helping schools move from raising petunias to produce. And while within this grant, some horticulture crops are allowed as a part of that specialty crop, but it really does allow us to expand our definition. So we have lots of opportunities for schools when it comes to greenhouses, but then there's also things like high tunnels and tower gardens and those outdoor land spaces where they can grow. And really, I see everything from lettuce, herbs, vegetables, some of those fruits. So not only growing them fresh and being able to look at the seasonality, as Sarah mentioned, but also looking at what's that next level. How do we preserve those fruits and vegetables that we're growing in the greenhouse? I've been at Burwell and watched them freeze peppers that they were going to use later on in the school year in their school cafeteria for fajitas. I've been at Morrill High School where they're taking their product that was seasonal and then making salsa to be used later in the year. So lots of opportunities, but to me, it's really about moving from raising petunias. Petunias are beautiful, but moving from petunias really to that produce that can be used.
So through this program, each school, as you mentioned, will be matched up with an area farmer who will serve as a mentor. So Stacie, what benefits do you hope the students and even their teachers will get from that relationship?
I think this is one of the most exciting things about this project. We ask teachers to wear many hats and to know a little bit or sometimes a lot about a lot of different topics. But the reality is that there's a wealth of information in any community. So what I really hope that the students and the teachers are going to gain is that practical knowledge, which includes, both that scientific knowledge that the producer has, but it's also that lived experience. Here's how it's worked in my fields. We also gain different perspectives. We can talk to two different producers raising the same crop and get that different perspective. It also allows our students and teachers to widen their network and their connection. It allows our students to see what's possible in a community. So as we talk about sustainable production methods, many times our students have trouble equating that to to how does it actually work in a practical sense. And so this gives them the opportunity. We also see a lot of crops that we don't think of. In Osmond, they're raising bananas. In Centennial High School, they're raising avocados. In Scotts Bluff, they've got spinach that they're growing. So those aren't crops that we usually think of as Nebraska crops. So this is an exciting opportunity to see what's possible in any community.
So it sounds like they're really thinking outside the box. That's great to see. So Sarah, same question to you. What are you seeing as the benefits for students and teachers?
Well, I think there's a lot of value in farm to school in general and having like a sense of community pride and recognizing where you come from and your place. And I think this provides a different perspective for the students and the teachers to learn directly from a farmer who is steeped in their community and growing food. And typically within a business, like especially one where specialty crop production is involved, it takes some innovation. It looks a little bit different than maybe what we're familiar with seeing when we look out on the highways and we're driving and seeing fields. There's a different, the funding stream might look different. The market scene will look different where the products are being sold and how they're reaching that market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to learn about that angle with the food system and the logistics involved there. And I think it's a really good opportunity to potentially grow the amount of food that's grown in our state, but then also consumed in our state. So our students and their teachers are increasing that fruit and vegetable intake and keeping the funds and the economy rolling within their more direct community. So I think those are some really key benefits that we'll likely see from this.
Well, Stacie, in most cases, the mentors also benefit from these types of relationships. What do you hope the farmer mentors take away from the program?
I really hope that they see our students and teachers. And by that, I mean, when you get to know the students that we have, the high school students, and you get to know our teachers, you'll see that these are amazing kids that are doing some really cool things. And they've got some teachers that are wearing many hats and doing a great job with the limited resources they have. So I hope that those mentors have a new respect and can be a voice for our programs. But also, I know that when we teach others, we have the opportunity to reflect, which is very powerful. And so I think for that producer, being able to answer to the students, tell them the why behind why we do things, and then reflect on that, I think will be very powerful for themselves. I think they're going to be amazed when they meet our teachers and students, but I think their reflection is going to be very important for them.
Sarah, what would you like to add to that? What do you hope these mentors are taking away?
I think just building off of what Stacie said, a connection to youth in our state and recognizing the potential for youth to move into the communities and be the future consumers and the future producers, and really valuing generational, I don't know, just valuing the differences within generations. So I think that's a hopeful benefit that could come for the mentors. Additionally, I'm guessing that there could be some creativity that comes from thinking about your work and providing it through a teaching lens, maybe seeing what you're doing in a different way. So growing in that ability for creativity and innovation and storytelling. So I hope that we see a pass down of knowledge, and that it would give some hope to those mentors that the work that they're putting in has long-lasting effects as well. So I know it can be similar to farmers. It's like school nutrition directors as well. It can be an under celebrated position, under recognized sometimes, yet they're doing really meaningful work. So I think that would be one of my hopes. And I think I can see, Stacie gave some really good examples of schools she's familiar with and what they're growing and kind of the impact the different types of products the kids are learning about is having on them. We also see we've seen in Omaha Nation Public Schools, we've had a chance to visit them, and just knowing that the teachers are really impacted with being able to pass down cultural teachings and learnings with Native students and learning about native foods and growing those foods and incorporating them into their diets, and the idea and of food sovereignty. So, I think there's just a huge gamut of potential benefits from cultural learning and creativity, and passing down that knowledge to the generations that helps to kind of fuel you in the work that you're doing. That's what I would anticipate seeing.
Well, Stacie, when it comes to this program, you mentioned you were excited about the mentor. What are you most excited about? It sounds like there's a lot of aspects that are very exciting to think about.
Yeah, this whole program is exciting. I'm always excited about the opportunity for our students and teachers and communities really to learn. And Sarah mentioned the community aspect of this, and this really does affect the entire community. The students that are involved here are going to be not only the future producers, but they're going to be those future consumers that are involved in consuming food the rest of their lives. And so the more we can help students understand those different perspectives and the different processes, the better prepared they are to help make policy, to help make buying decisions, and to be able to produce their own food. So whether we're talking about, I met students in Litchfield who are young kids interested, excited about cauliflower, because they've been a part of that growing process. They've helped plant the plants early on. They've helped harvest it. At Sandy Creek, watching those kids get really excited about growing their own beef. They're involved in every aspect of it. Watching Scotts Bluff, the kids are growing spinach that they're taking both not only to school lunch, but also to the zoo. So it involves the whole community. And the more we can bring in that producer side of it to help that really come full circle, this is really exciting stuff. The mentorship piece of this really takes this to a whole new level. So it's easy for a school to have a cool idea, but without that mentor, it is really hard to make this a really sustainable, long-term, meaningful experience. So I'm excited about that aspect of it.
Sarah, same question to you. What are you excited about?
I'm excited that this model pulls from some of the evidence that we have on how to sustain farm to school, how to maintain power with the farm to school programs. And a lot of it is the more that we can integrate programming into multiple levels, the more likely it is that farm to school will maintain and shift within the culture of a school. And so, we see when we have support from different types of team members, for instance, that there's recognition of goals that are maybe a little bit smarter, those SMART goals. And so they can come up with action plans for achieving what's manageable for that school and that team. And I see this as kind of fitting into that model a little bit. And we hosted a Farm to School Institute in 2021, and one of our teams was Pius X out of Lincoln. And they had a school administrator, the school nutrition director, one of their teachers, and they had a local farmer who was involved on their team. And so those students that were impacted by the farm to school work at Pius were able to do a farm tour with Farmer Gary. And he was able to come in and do a farmer's market setup with those students. And they purchased the food or received the food within that farmer's market and took it home. So I guess what I'm excited about is that it kind of takes a model where there's multiple levels of involvement by different experts and with the students themselves, so that it'll be really targeted on a district by district basis, what they're doing, and being able to learn from those schools and hear their stories of kind of what were their focuses, what did they accomplish, and and maybe some of the data that comes from that as well. I'm excited for those pieces.
Well, it sounds like a really exciting program for the students, for the community, like you said, and it's pretty exciting for the center to be involved with as well. So Banner County and Bancroft Rosalie schools are signed on so far, and the center is looking for 6 more schools to join the program. If your school might be interested, please contact Kirstin Bailey for more information. I'll put her contact information in the comments section below. Sarah and Stacie, thank you again for joining me on this month's Rural Report, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more about the center, please visit our website at cfra.org.